There's a lot of stuff that's going on that we can be asking questions about. First time ever, we've got a Postmaster General who has a clear political connection and agenda with the person who picked him. So then we got to talk about, if we do raise the prices because the president says he's not going to sign any bill unless they charge more money, and if they do raise the prices on these last mile customers, let's ask who's going to pay for it. When you buy something and you pay for delivery, when you buy something and it's mailed to you or sent to you or delivered to you by some carrier, who pays for the delivery? Oh, free delivery. No, there's no such thing. You're paying for it somewhere. So if we pass on $1 to $5 extra for every package that we deliver from the United States Postal Service here in rural America, where it literally costs us 15 cents, who's going to pay for it? Somebody's not taking care of you. If you're a citizen of America, somebody's not taking care of you. Now, why is the Postal Service not making any money? Well, here's the simple reason. And I'm going to avoid the stupid conversations that will get us nowhere. There's been an attempt to remove the idiotic 75-year pension fund from the requirement that we have to keep throwing money at, which is, you talk to any union person, you talk to any postal person, you talk to anybody, they're going to say, well, we're not really losing money, we're just funding a 75-year pension fund, which isn't exactly accurate, but we'll let that go because we're not going to worry about that right now. Because the way you fix a problem is you understand the structure, you understand the information that flows through it, you understand the motivations of the decision makers within it. And in this particular case, you've got a U.S. Congress that has about $110 billion sitting in a fund somewhere that pads their budget and makes it look like they're not nearly as incompetent as the people who, well, let us have $1 trillion deficit. They're not going to move that away, and no president will ever get rid of it because, frankly, it's already there, and all that will happen is they'll look bad. There's no motivation for them to move it. The problem is, all this noise and all this energy and all this direction seems to be leading us, and you can listen to the president talk, into a privatization of this postal service, and here's what will happen when that happens. First of all, your mailbox in front of your house, get rid of it, because you're going to have to drive down to the postal service, to post office. Oh, the one that you drive to now is closed because you got to go to another one. Maybe they'll put a cluster box up there. They're going to charge you for that extra mile, that last mile service that we're not allowed to charge you for, even though the president wants it and, demanded. Even though the president demands it, it's against the law. And 4 of the 5 people who decide how they're going to price are people he picked and put in their place. He appointed them. And they say, I can't do what he wants to do because it's against the law. During the Senate hearings in the spring of 2019, Congressman Collins was talking about how the unions have been really helpful in working with the U.S. Postal Service during their difficult financial issues. And one of the things that people don't understand is every time that something happens in the United States Postal Service, a postal worker loses money, it seems. If we automate the handling of magazines instead of having them in bundles so carriers have to sort them in their cases, if we automate that, the money that's saved through the efficiencies include taking money away from the carrier because they don't have to do so much work anymore. And that's okay. Now, the other thing is in the letter carriers out here in the rural world is they get paid on what's called an evaluated route. Basically, once or twice, once every other year or so, they come out and they take a stopwatch and they watch a guy work. They watch him work in his case. They watch him work. They watch him walk back and forth from the hampers he's got to work with. They watch him load his truck. They follow him around the route. They find out everything that's involved in doing his route, and they do it over every day for over 2 weeks, and then they come up with what they believe the route is worth as a daily wage. So here's the thing about Amazon that's important to understand. Their driver comes here and leaves it on my dock. No, he doesn't. He brings it in and he carries it inside the doors here. Carries it inside the doors and leaves it exactly where I ask him to, and I take it and I sort it at a rate of at least 250 pieces an hour. That's the minimum rate. Nobody works that slow, but that is the standard. And if I take all of my wages for the hour plus any kind of benefit that I earn over the, extrapolated over the, or any type of benefit that I would spread over the time that I'm working, literally it costs less than 15 cents for every package that I take from Amazon and sort to a carrier. So what you understand so far is if I sort 100 packages to a carrier, or one package, or no package, or 2,000 packages, the letter carrier has to deliver them, and he's not going to make any more or any less based on what he's carried to the street. So what we've figured out so far is when Amazon comes here and drops their stuff at my dock and they carry it inside and I sort it at the speed that I need to, and the letter carriers deliver it with the contract that they have that says they're not going to make any more or less, the only thing that's added as an expense other than that 15 cents is the couple extra minutes that the truck might idle while it's out on the route, delivering, knocking on doors, doing packages that have to be delivered at the door. But that doesn't happen all that often. Carrier's already going to the place. We're not adding a whole lot of costs. He's got those packages in the same place, going in the same mailbox with the mail that's already going there. So what we have here is we've got a truck pulling up here for a third-party carrier that wants us to finish the last mile of them because it would cost them $1 to $5 more if they went out in the neighborhood and tried to do it themselves. Probably cost them even more. But the impression that we get from what's being said is the Postal Service is virtually paying them $1 to $5 for the privilege of delivering the package. That's not true. And the truth is, if that contract that we have with Amazon charges more than 15 cents, and I'm sure it does, we're making a lot of money here. Or some money here. It's not a loss. So, follow me. The president isn't going to sign any COVID-19 aid for the United States Postal Service because the United States Postal Service is a joke because they don't charge Amazon enough money for the packages they deliver. But the cost of us to deliver those packages here in rural America, which is where you see very few Amazon trucks. You see them everywhere on earth, but you don't see them here because it would cost them too much to deliver here. Now let's go take a look at the law. And let's find out why the Postal Regulatory Commission disagrees with the person who says we need to be charging more than we are for these last mile customers. The way we fix the Postal Service's financial problems, short-term and long-term, is we do two things. One, we get rid of for the market-dominant products, which is a euphemism for monopoly products, ones where there are no competitions, ones where you have no excuse for losing money. With the market-dominant products, we eliminate the restriction on price increases that is tied to the consumer price index for urban consumers, which worked fine when there was no erosion of first-class mail. But their first-class mail has eroded over the last decade 34%, while the consumer price index for urban consumers has increased little under 17%, like 16.8. The law also says that we're supposed to be able, every category of mail is supposed to pay for itself, and the law is written so that that category can't. And that's why we're losing money. To be honest with you, when stamps were 25 cents, between the time they were 25 cents and 50 cents, if we trended the average household income as the limit for how we could increase prices so that it wouldn't change the value the Postal Service meant then and now, if we trended that, we would generate another $8 billion a year simply. If we trended the average mail letter cost of our top 5 European trading partners, we would add $26.9 billion annually. So if Congress wants to do the right thing and fix the Postal Service, they will eliminate, modify, change the restriction on what we can charge first-class mail so that it can at least approach what the threshold for pricing is in the global market, so that it can approach the kind of pricing that's experienced everywhere else in the world. And if they did that, we would be able to fund the pension for 200 years. And that's how simple this problem is. We're not going to raise the price on last mile customers. That can't happen. And if it does, it will be to the detriment of the Postal Service and to the consumers of America, because they're going to be the ones to pay for it. We got to quit whining and moaning about the 75-year pension fund. They tried to eliminate that, but nobody's really motivated to make it go away. So what is the option? Well, we focus on first-class letters, first-class mail. And then we focus on how do we get people to use it more. We do a terrible job of that. The United States Constitution is the only constitution that promises the pursuit of happiness. The United States Constitution is the only constitution in the world that promises the pursuit of happiness, the right to pursue happiness. The Postal Service, as it's established and as it's set up and as it serves America, as it meets the vision of our founding fathers who included it, protecting it in the Constitution of the United States, the United States Postal Service is an element of your pursuit of happiness, an inalienable right of American citizenship to be able to send letters and to communicate and to do commerce using America's infrastructure so that it's fastest, most efficient, and most profitable for those people who can, most profitable for those people who do business through the mail. If you take a look at every problem that you have, and one of the things that I have noticed a lot lately is people who post on Facebook, well, I don't know what to believe anymore. Well, here's how I decide what to believe anymore. First of all, I look at the source. Where did that information come from? How old is it? How did they go about coming to the conclusion? What references are there to the information from which they used? How valid and proven it is that? Is there other information out there that disagrees, and what's the basis of that? So information is important. The structure is important. The availability of that information is often, or I should say almost always, in a highly controlled environment to make sure that the information does not get loose lips sink ships, as it were. If there's an agenda out there and there's a handful of people that are involved in executing its strategy, it's not likely they're going to share all of that with you in the structure that benefits them best from the things that motivate them. Motivation, got to check that. And how decision rights are assigned to the people who appear to be properly motivated to meet the end game of the agenda. And I think about this in the context of what I'm perceiving to be a delta between the person who leads our nation and the Postal Board's selection of our most recent Postmaster General. As I look at his resume in a really uncanny way, it's so much like my own in terms of the kinds of, the scale, the industries were very different, and therefore the scales were very different. But in terms of transformational opportunities that redefined industries, created opportunities and job growth, we come from the same basic success experience. So I have to imagine that a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about as he plans to move us forward are things that are going to make it most easy for the adversarial relationship that has traditionally stood between Postal Service management and the labor unions that support them. And in reference to the single greatest capitalist of my lifetime, the single most successful chairman of any, or single most successful CEO of any company, who transformed a company in a way that most people who saw it, 96% of the people who saw it, couldn't understand what actually happened. Because statistically, I've actually seen this proven, something that was told to me by a consultant a long time ago without a reference, so I wasn't able to prove it was true, but I have a sense that it really is. Only about 4% of the people that you talk to are trained in or even understand how to talk about what strategic thinking is. And I always reference Kenichi Ohmae when he talks about the 4 ways that we think. And I actually modified that for my own purposes. I'll say quite honestly, I say it's the 4 ways we process information. Because we all process information differently, and there are times when the difference in how we approach the problem are the only reason that we have found the solution. I honestly believe in Darwinian capitalism, and I honestly believe that it's the necessity is the mother of invention or recreation. As anyone who has ever accomplished the kinds of things in business that my strategic plans that I've drafted have, would be able to talk to you about with some level of intelligence and vision. I get the sense from the remarks that our Postmaster General has made as he introduced himself to us, that he is far more like the kind of upside-down pyramid leadership, empowering structure mentality kind of leader who really would grip the ideas that I have to offer and help make this a better place to work with greater values offered to the employees for our success.